Right, talking of quality tunes, quality music, quality conversation, quality words, not wasting words, but still possessing MC skills. Lowkey's in the building.
Yes, bro.
Yo,
what's happening? What's happening? How you doing, brother?
I'm gassed that you're here, you know.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it a lot, bro.
Very much looking forward to chattering about
man.
music, life, all of that. Even just as Getz was spitting his verse, we were talking about something that made me go, you know what? Real talk. But I don't want to take away that you've always been one of my favourite UK MCs. Can I just drop something to just prove to people that you can do this thing? This alphabet thing.
Do that. Jeez.
Take it in. Lowkey in the building. We're going to chitter chatter.
Yeah, the reunion. See, Papoose, he slaughtered the alphabet. But it's on life support. See me? I'm an assassin. I finish the job every time. I'm an anarchist and an angry academic activist. Axe and assassinate the alphabet in the ambulance. Aki, I'm Aggie and I'm actually anti-arrogant. Artists that asking American accents by accident. Batter babbling battlers with a bag of batteries. Baddies biased flaggers because they're badly backwards beat. And Bible bashers get badded badge with the Brackenbury. Raffle backpackers with bars bad as a bag of beef. Catty crackers get cancelled. Canada to Canterbury. Cussing my clique. Catch a cavalry crashing to casualty. Cunning culprit that covers conversation candidly. Cool calculated cannibal that causes carnage casually. Didn't do diddly, did it with dignity. You dilly dally and diss from distance. Dig it, I disagree. You did it for digits. Nigga dummy, I do it differently. I define deliberately, diligent delivery. Everything is everything, it's evidence. My essence is every element. Effortlessly edit your enterprise with eloquence. Elevate with the energy of Eminem. Every entity that's ever been an enemy, I'm ending them. The fact is, I fracture factors to fragments fantastically. Fibbers fabricate fallacies and fan fantasies. I flip faithless fellas from fakers to flipping fans of me. Flippantly famish and finish these fanatics factually. Give gangsters gangrene and gain green gradually. Grapple and gate crash, you're gathering with a gang of G's. Gallivanting geezers get guided to the galaxy. Or gallows for gambling with a general's geniality. I'll happily hack hackers that happen to have a hack at me like Hatton. I'm habitually hazardous, how it has to be. Hospitalized haters from Holland, Holloway or Hackney. Hate hagglers, and I hang 'em with a handkerchief. Illustrious illustrator, realist in the industry. Illicitly cause illiterate idiots injury. Impatient cause Illuminati impede my innovations. While ignorant imbeciles idolize my imitations. I jack a jackal for his jacket and just jam. Got jittery jockeys jabbering. Jamaica to Japan, got jealous junkie jokers jabbing. January to January, my journal is a journey. Just don't jinx my chicky jamboree. I'm the key, the king, the Kaiser, reminding my kin of karma. I'm a kangaroo, keep in your kennel. You curb koala, kidnapping captomaniac since kindergarten killer. Kitties will give your kidney for a Kit Kat or a kipper. I'm a lyricist living with little listeners. Listen, I'm loving living cause life is literally limited. My live lyrics lift lyricism levels luckily. Till I leave the labyrinth of London and live in luxury. Meanwhile, my motives to motivate and mobilize my monster men. My missions to minimize misdemeanors. Monuments of these midgets make me milli for minutes. I may be a mad mongrel and a manic Mesopotamian maniac. No, my narrative's not for narcoleptic narcissists. Naive native nitwits, not a negative nastiness. Numerous naughty nymphos go up to my navel. No, I neglect the negligee and navigate to navel. When I operate, obsolete opposition get obliterated. Often obese officers ogle as their occupation. Obviously, often other obstacles is my obligation. Originality over Oscar ovations. It's poisonous poets, poised at the pulpit. Pulverized poachers and pointless posers with potently poignant poems. We practically panic paparazzi, passive passengers planning to pack peas and prank patchy pampering pansies. Quality with quantity, qualified quantum physics. I question quarterly cracks and I quickly quadruple quizzes. A quarter get queasy and query with queer quotes. Though these quirky quibblers get crippled like Quasimodo. Righteous revolution, ragamuffin, repping reality, really rebelling, recruiting ready regiments rapidly. Remorseless renegade rhythms and records ripping radio. Rapping rattlers really rally rating my ratio. I separately severed several stupid students to step and still slewing sacrilegious super sadists in seconds. Speak to styles and savagely smack up studio sessions. Suave swinger spitting sick and similes since 7. With the talent and tenacious tendencies of Tyson. Tipped as a terrifying terrorist tackling titans. Tokyo to Tennessee, taxing timid tourists. Through turbulent times I tangle with total torment. Understand I'm unbelievable, that's an understatement. Uglifier giving ultimatums to undertakers. Unanimous, undisputed, unequivocal. Unforgiving to some uncles, they're unoriginal. Verbally violent and victims validate my visions. Vaporize and vanish various vigilant villains. Vividly victorious over a variety of vixens. Venomous viper vanquishes vampires with vengeance. These waffling wackos are just waiting to work for wages. My words are weapons willing to wage war on you wimpy wasters. I see through you xenophobic X-Men with the X-ray. XL Xmas with the X-rated sex tape. These yuppies are yapping, I'm yawning yearning for yesterday. Years when youngers play with yo-yos, not yet we yay. I'm as zealous as Zeppelin and Zappa in my zones. I zoom like Zorro, I zap these zonky zebras. My zones are zoo. How many letters left? 0.
When you got to Z, I was so nervous first time I heard that. I thought, oh, mate, it's only about 2 words. I was like, whoa, look at them skills there. Mad.
Yes, man.
Lowkey in the building.
Yeah, and let me give a big up to Bobby Friction as well, man. He was one of the, I think, the first person to support that track, man. He was playing it every single day, yeah, man.
Currently,
10 years ago.
Wow, across the road at Sister Station Asia Network.
But also, as you can tell from the production, big up to Nutty P. But that is a 10 years old song. So.
UK music weren't sounding as expensive them times, didn't it?
It was not, no.
Sounded a little bit cheaper.
Yeah,
you know them ones.
Yeah.
But the bars were still fire though.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, bro.
Wow, 10 years old that tune. Mad. Every letter in the alphabet handled neatly.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Lowkey.
Yes, bro.
So like poet, rapper, activist is a big word that gets used. Like I was thinking about it and then I thought I'll just ask you.
Yeah,
like how should someone introduce Lowkey? How do you want people to tell them?
I don't know, that's a good question. I would say probably hip hop artists. Just
Okay.
hip hop artists is cool, man. Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Maybe a campaigner as well.
Okay.
Rather than an activist, yeah.
I thought that because it's obvious if you follow your journey or followed your journey that there are things that are important to you as well as rapping.
Yeah.
Which you use rap for as a platform. We'll definitely get into that. But you're definitely more than a rapper, man.
Well, it tried to be, bruv. But also, everyone is, innit? At the end of the day, all of the people that we're listening to, their songs are kind of expressions of their character and also expressions of a particular place they are at that point in their life. If you were to listen to a lot of the artists that are prominent now, say 10 years ago, I guarantee you in many ways they'd feel like they were a completely different person as well. Because, you know, you progress, you change. And so it's important to have that kind of appreciation of people, because in a way, when you commit something to being recorded, it's almost like it's frozen in time.
Yeah.
And so someone can listen to that song in 20 years' time when you're a completely different person and take that at face value as a representative.
Doesn't that make you nervous as someone who is always going to be watched? If you drop an album, a video or something, that is going to represent you then. So doesn't that put you under pressure to be like, oh, whoa?
Well, it's kind of like the nature of what it is we do. When you look at like the invention of writing, human history had been vast long before that. The vast majority of human history is read through stones rather than through actual writing. So about 3,500 years ago, when writing was invented, what it meant is that people kind of immortalizing themselves in a new way. And I think the same way that changed the nature of human existence, also recorded sound and recorded image, then also changes that nature of human existence. You know, when we listen to Tupac's music now, he's long gone, but there's an extent to which he's living when we're looking at it. And so it's kind of just part of the game. You have to, that's why I do think you need to think a little bit more critically about what it is you're putting out and what it is you want to say. If you want it to echo, not throughout eternity, but for a long time.
Yeah, now as a young man, you returned after a long break for a young rapper. I do want to get into that, but I want to go back to the young man of Lowkey.
Yeah.
And before you became a rapper, because I did a little bit of research, and 12 was when you started rapping?
Yeah, man, yeah.
So what got you into rapping as a 12-year-old?
So I really loved, at that time, probably prior to getting into hip-hop, I loved Gil Scott-Heron. I was inspired by the way in which he was able to use his art to challenge the status quo at that time. And
he had an incredible voice as well, don't you reckon?
He did, man. He did. He's a big loss. He's a big loss, definitely. And particularly a song of his, Did You Hear What They Said? And he's talking about the Vietnam War at that time.
So even at that young age, lyrics grabbed you like that, and that's kind of what inspired you to get to hip hop?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I was on Vanilla Ice and all them ones.
I was on them too. I mean, I'm not particularly Vanilla Ice, but like I got into, say, Dr. Dre, The Chronic, and more kind of hip hop that wasn't as explicitly political. Though, of course, at that time, the norm was far more explicitly political than sometimes it might be now. But I think Stormzy is changing that. I do think Stormzy is changing that. But so I got into that side of it. And then I liked, personally, at the age of 12, I liked the rebellious way that rappers were swearing. And kind of breaking.
Why, were you in an environment that wasn't allowing you to swear? Was that part of it?
Not particularly, but at the age of 12, it feels rebellious to say swear words out loud, kind of.
It's late, and I do have to give a language warning. If you are listening, you might hear stuff that your nan might not like you saying. So if you really do want to, feel free. It's dark outside. Crack on. New rules at BBC,
It changes over years,
sure?
Isn't it? It changes over years.
Cool.
But also seeing it then as a route for expression of things. Because when you actually think about it, a lot of people express through their music things that in personal conversation they wouldn't be able to express, except if maybe they were sitting with a therapist. But then through their music, they open up in this way. They
A
show
lot of artists even
vulnerability.
talk about their music being their own therapy. Really,
Definitely, bro.
Well.
Definitely. And so obviously at the beginning, it was kind of like imitating what we were hearing, you know, as, you know, somebody of a generation that knew a lot of people would begin rapping in a raw imitation of what they were hearing and what they admired in America. And I was one of those people at the age of 12, but then developed after that, you know, and seeing...
So what do you mean? You had the American accent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
12, definitely.
All the way from London.
Yeah.
London, England.
But that's the thing. It's like seeing that now, it's all part of the progress.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that it's easy sometimes, especially when something is as competitive as hip hop is kind of inherently, to be kind of a bit of a condemnatory about other people that do that kind of stuff and that are that influenced by other people. But it's the nature of what it is, you know, you're admiring something and then you kind of become a mirror to it. Don't get me wrong, it didn't last long. But then you start moving on and you start kind of expressing yourself in different ways. And for me, as someone that's lived decades with the music in one way or another, you start to become a little bit more flexible in what your conception of that kind of expression is. It doesn't have to be a certain format or a certain kind of rigid way of expressing
How
things.
did that manifest then as a kid? Did you start writing poetry? Did you find a studio? Like, what was your first experience of being a rapper? Okay.
Yeah, Deal Real, really.
Central
bruv.
London.
Yeah, man, Deal Real, bruv. And as somebody that was around in those times, like I think we're probably a minority actually in terms of people that were around in those times and are kind of still around in these times.
Yeah. So talk to people about Deal Real for people who don't know, because the thing is with Deal Real, like, there's been some really exciting kind of areas of UK MC culture, from drum and bass to garage and grime MC, but Deal Real was somewhere that was very pure about its UK hip hop being the spine of its existence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
I mean,
you had Uptown Records around the corner.
Yeah.
So you had like the garage and grime shops and all of that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
For me, when you're going to Deal Real in Central London, it was like, okay, let me just sometimes put my backpack, like, let me be ready. Do you know what I mean? I might bump into a little tie in there, little black top, like.
But do you know what as well? And big up to both of them. But also, what I think was great about Deal Real is you brought together the quote unquote creme de la creme of hip hop in the US as well, and hip hop here.
Kanye West.
Yeah, Kanye West would come
yeah.
through. Jizza, Cannabis, Dame Dash, all of them. Pharoah Monch, and Most Def. They get mobbed by rappers spitting to them, and then they'd walk into a room that was probably about the size of the studio, and they'd spit in a room full of hungry MCs, who then would get on the mic and then the ciphers would spill outside. Brother, it was a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, but because we're around the same age, you must have been mad young, bruv.
I was.
Because even them times, some of them MCs were OGs, and it was like a proper UK hip-hop community, which, to be honest, isn't the easiest community to penetrate. You've got to bring it. You've got to have it. You've got to be good at what you do. Yeah. So how did you manage to kind of, because you've always been respected in that world, how did you manage as a young person to penetrate that circle?
Just being there and feeling that I had a point to prove at the age of 17 was that I would, like, the thing that's interesting as well is I don't have it anymore, is that need to try and prove this idea of what the best MC that has ever lived is. It's
and
mad.
You believe that was Lowkey?
Yeah.
Them times.
Bruv, you it's like you program yourself
Yeah.
into believing that, and you walk into that room and then try and prove it to everyone else by spitting and looking them in the eyes and all that kind of stuff. And what I think is amazing about that, and what I feel sometimes is probably lacking in today's stuff, is that ability to directly practice your art and directly hone your craft. And so I think that it's a really important thing, because it empowers the live aspect, because then when it comes to touring, like now we've just finished a tour of about 18 shows. Now that was 18 shows with like 2 days off. Now I was actually drawing on things that I had developed at that young age in the Deal Real setting, because you start to understand the psychology of how a crowd works.
And what's some of those skills that like people who are listening don't?
Well, when you walk into a room of MCs that all want to be spitting exactly at the time when you're spitting on
and
the
all
mic,
believe what you believe,
and
as
believe
well.
they're the sickest,
Exactly, like,
exactly. So they might be a bit hostile.
Yeah.
You have to think of a way early on to unite people with you and get them to make noise on a certain point. So you can bring in the call and response. You can bring in the DJ in a certain way with the dropouts. You realize that when you're dropping a certain bar and the dropout comes, then it emphasizes it, and it's a point for people to make noise. In a way, a performance is actually like a two-sided coin. It's not just you that's performing. And I think that's an important skill for people to develop. They realize that people actually come to the shows wanting to perform. And one of the most amazing performances I ever saw, and it was the first time that I actually saw someone perform and people proper knew the bars and were spitting it like with more energy than him even. And that's not to say the performance wasn't amazing, was Kalashnikov Murder.
Oh, man.
In Deal Row. Imagine the vibe.
Sure I must
imagine
have
the
been
vibe.
You in there.
Bruv, it was beautiful, man.
Oh, man.
People are jumping off the counter and jumping over, trying to get to the decks, and that was so inspiring. Seeing that and thinking, wow, that is the way that you get a song cemented in people's mind and in their hearts, and inspiring them to such a point where they can get kind of energetic about it.
It's so funny you say that because like I think I was doing a mixtape around 0304.
Yeah.
And I was trying to I forgot the artist who was supposed to be on it. I can't remember, but I went to a show to try and get hold of him. And at that show, they replaced the artist with Kalashnikov. And it was the first time that I heard Murder live. And oh my God, that moment in time, he became one of my favorite MCs ever. No word of a lie.
The energy is different. The energy is different. The energy is different. Even today.
Yeah.
Even today, when you see Murder perform, it's something special. But imagine that time, it's like 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
And he's performing Murder. It was like electric. It was electric. It was electric.
So you went from like spitting in Deal Real to having product in there. Your mixtapes.
Not just that, I used to perform and then sell the CDs
straight after.
Yeah, the mixtapes
hustle.
directly. And they used to sell well, man, because you'd go in there and you'd spit and you'd spend a whole week like learning your bars.
Yeah.
Also, even learning bars, like these days, I just do not have the kind of memory that I had at that point. My memory was sharp because also my hunger to prove myself was a lot more.
Yeah.
And in a way, those kind of skills are less important now. So it helped selling the CDs directly after
now
shows
this is
as well.
just before. This is like just maybe around MySpace's early emergence,
exactly.
YouTube and all of that. For a hungry MC from London who's building through kind of live interaction with MCs and all that. How did you manage to build the fan base that ended up kind of staying with you to prove certain things as your career went? What happened then to kind of grow the brand Lowkey?
I mean, that's a good question. I think I should have really approached things in a more cognitive mapping is an important skill to learn, and I would suggest to any young person
explain what that is.
Well, that means if you're 18 now, right? Imagine you had any skill that you wanted to have if you clicked your fingers, right? Then realize that skill to tune it the way you may want could take 5 years. So say today you're going to do something every day over the next 5 years to get to that point. If you decide today you want to be a black belt in Kung Fu, you're going to have to study for 5 years. So if you decide you want to learn Spanish, you're going to have to study for quite a while. So if you can decide as young as possible, really around 18, what it is you exactly have that clarity and then map that out, you'll definitely get really quite close to it over time. And I wish I'd had more clarity about what it was that I wanted. For me, what was the beginning of things changing, I would say, was probably like 2007. I was part of a collective called Mongrel. I got approached by a member of Reverend and the Makers, John McClure.
You were a big band at the time as well.
Yeah, big indie band, top tens. Arctic Monkeys, there are two members of Arctic Monkeys, Andy Nicholson.
And Arctic Monkeys were the band of the time. The band.
And Matt Helders, and they had a member of Baby Shambles, and we also had Joe Newman in there from Reverend and the Makers as well, and a member of Baby Shambles was Drew McConnell. And they just opened up a whole other world to me that at that time I feel was only really exposed to, like, so we did Glastonbury the year Jay-Z headlined it and the year Dizzy performed at it. So
big monumental moments for MC culture, those both.
definitely,
like,
and met with resistance. Let's not forget, Oasis came out. Well, Noel Gallagher came out.
We don't want that at this festival.
Ridiculous.
There's no time for
And look at them
hip-hop
now. Who's laughing
Yeah.
now? Who's laughing now, bro?
Yeah.
And the point is that at that time, it was exposed to a whole different infrastructure that was already there for indie bands. You know,
But
NME.
not for rappers, though.
But not for rappers.
Yeah.
Not for
Reals.
rappers yet. And so we did like the John Peel stage on a Friday night, which was massive. And through Mongrel, we made the album. We got some really amazing artists from the UK, hip hop artists like from Wretch, from Skinny Man to Nole to Kaiser to Purple to loads actually featured on that album as well. And yeah, it was special. It was special, but it was right before the turning point because, of course, then 2008, 2009, things started changing. Number one started happening. Exactly, man. And then really from 2009, things started expanding more and more. 2010, they expanded more. Then 2011 was when I released Soundtrack to the Struggle, the first one. And that did all right, man. That did pretty well for an independent release.
Really well. I want to like talk about how well that did, and it shot up the iTunes chart and all that. But can I play my favorite song from it first, though?
Whatever you want, bro. Yeah, man.
I used to love the song. And
Thank
who
you,
is Shadia? Where is Shadia?
Shadia Mansour.
Yeah.
She's around, man. I mean, I haven't seen her in a while, but she's an amazing artist. But mainly her stuff's in Arabic, actually.
Yeah.
So she's singing in English on this.
What a voice.
Yeah, man.
This is Too Much, lifted off the album Lowkey's talking about. Yeah, Lowkey's in the studio with Chitter and his twin, One Extra.
Money can't buy sleep, but it can buy a bed. Money can't buy you love, but it can buy sex. You possess money, you'll buy money, yeah, you possessed. Money can buy a house, but it can't buy a home. So even with money, you still feel all alone. Money can buy you friends, but it can't buy family. Money can't make you happy, that's just a fallacy. It can buy a bath, but it can't buy purity. It can buy bodyguards, but it can't buy security. While people around the world starve, I eat. Cause money can buy war, but it can't buy peace. Some do everything and anything to get the peace. The society we're living in, it's a necessity. It's got the power to turn your best friends to enemies. It's funny cause money doesn't follow us when we leave.
Don't need, keep it. Then you stole it from somebody else who's hungry. Everything that you do is everything you are. Everything that I am is everything you ever need.
Does happiness live in a mansion with a swimming pool? I know people with plenty of money that are miserable. We all need to earn in this world we live. Most work for it, some still, but many worship it. Some sell poison for it, some seek employment for it. We need it to survive, so some clean the toilets for it. I need papes to live, but never will I live for papes. Abolish the queen, I don't wanna see that witch's face. Many sell their soul for it, no, not me. Some will try to tell you that it doesn't grow on trees. I heard the saying said many a time, but they were wrong. Cause if it doesn't tell me, then where do you get the paper from? Most think they'd be happy if they only had more of it. Some waste it, some feel more important cause they're born with it. Some have got the nerve to say you're fortunate. The truth is, you don't need a fortune to be fortunate.
Don't need and keep it. Then you stole it from somebody else who's hungry. Everything that you do is everything you are. Everything that I am is everything you ever need. Share,
It's One Extra. Lowkey. And you said her name with much more elegance than I can say it.
Shadia Mansour.
There you say it. Yeah, there you go.
Big her up, yeah?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
It was always one of my favourite songs off
Thank
of
you,
the
bro.
soundtrack to The Struggle.
Yeah, man.
I remember when that dropped in 2011 and it
Yeah.
just shot up the chart. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, Lowkey, wow, he's smashing it. Da, 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 da. And again, it was that thing I mentioned earlier about building this fan base and people who had been on that journey with you
Yeah.
from, like you say, maybe starts at Dilroy
Yeah.
to this person who was releasing bodies of work
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I mean,
Mad.
with that album as well, we never had any physical distribution for it. We only had digital distribution for it. So in the midweek charts, it was something like 33, and that's the overall national charts.
Yeah.
And then in the end, it was like something like 57 in the overall national charts. But in terms of the actual digital charts, it was something like 14.
Yeah.
So that means 14 out of all of the other albums. So had we had physical distribution to it, what that means is that the difference between physical distribution in 2011 was say 14 and 57.
Yeah.
Now we're at a stage where streams, like that was all iTunes.
Yeah.
Whereas now streams, so it's things constantly evolve
Yeah.
and constantly change, and you've just got to be awake to those things, you know?
But it must have been encouraging as an artist putting together a body of work to know that people wanted to hear or spend an hour with your music.
And it was a long one as well. It may have even been an hour and 45 minutes.
Wow.
It was a double CD.
I think a big part of why it was such a big body of, a long listen were the interludes and some of the voices and some of the things that were being said. And to be fair, if you really took the album in, you didn't listen to it once, you'd pause, and some of the interludes were mad powerful.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about some of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm always somebody that thinks that if you're trying to put forward a body of work, you want it to be eclectic, number one, but you also want it to encompass many different things. And one thing about music that can move you to tears is it communicates with this really visceral part of the human spirit. The only thing that we don't ever have to learn how to do, and I know it as a father, a child is born almost as a blank slate. And one of the only thing that it doesn't learn how to do is cry. So if you have a piece of music that can push a person to tears, it touches a particular place within that person's spirit, which that person will never forget. And I think that that's something I aim to do. And in a way, the skits kind of aided in that process.
Definitely. I mean, do you want to pick any in particular to talk about? Because some of them are really powerful. I want you to choose rather than for me to pick one.
Of the skits.
Yeah.
Not to play on air, but just to talk about, right?
Yeah, just to talk about, yeah.
Well, Jeremiah Wright did an amazing speech. He was a reverend and was, in fact, a reverend at the church that Obama used to attend before becoming president of the United States. And he gave an amazing speech juxtaposing US foreign policy and in terms of the definitions that we use today of terrorism and kind of comparing that to US foreign policy. And it was deeply, deeply powerful. And I think that one definitely touched a lot of people.
Yeah, it did, man. It's really, really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And you've used your music, I mean, we'll get into outside of the music, but you've used your music to speak on behalf of a lot of people. Why have you found that really important?
Well, Aaron Dutty Roy once said that there's no such thing as the voiceless, there's the conveniently unheard. And I think at every point throughout human history, if we were to look at, say, the history of this country from the late 1600s to 1928, one of those groups of people that would have been conveniently unheard were people that were trying to get the right to vote for people that didn't own property or weren't landed gentry. We know that was a 300-year struggle for people to get that. It involved the Peterloo Massacre in 1819. It involved the leader of the Chartist movement, William Cuffy, who was, and it's really important for people to understand that the history of democratic development in this country also involves someone like William Cuffy, who was a black man who was deported by the government here and exiled to Tasmania, where the indigenous population in Tasmania were wiped out by their interaction with British imperial rule. And so think of all the people that struggled for so many years, and that in some cases were imprisoned and in some cases died, literally just for people that did not own property to have the right to vote, just for women to have the right to vote. And it wasn't until 1928. So the reason I say that to say this is that there have always been those throughout human history who have been conveniently unheard. There has always been those who have been left out of the status quo. And I think if you're someone that sees those people and makes an effort to build solidarity with those people and to kind of try and transfer what is personal pain into collective power, then there will be ways that will, to some extent, not receive the reception that you hope it would, you know? And obviously, in comparison to the Chartist movement, I've faced nothing of the sort. But the fact still remains that when you're seeking to speak for those people that are left out of the status quo, that, you know, there will be consequences.
I recently had a conversation with two drill MCs, Skengdo and AM, who have been through quite a lot when it comes to trying to rap, let's just put it that way, and have been restricted, they've even got in trouble with the law. I vaguely remember situations you got in that sense where you were kind of, I don't know if it was trouble you got in with the law or the authorities in terms of rapping, in terms of your music. Can you explain a little bit of what happened with that?
Well, the situation was the demonstrations that took place. I had a friend in 2010, late 2010, I had a friend who suffers from cerebral palsy and is in a wheelchair. Now, the video was made public and he was given a settlement by the Metropolitan Police for the way that they treated him. They hit him with a truncheon and dragged him from his chair. This is all, you know, well documented. His name is Jody McIntyre. In the aftermath of that situation, I got into an altercation and, you know, following that was arrested. Obviously, the way that case then played out, my music did come into it and was really kind of part of it in terms of building of character profile, in terms of this is who this person is, this is what their music says. So you can't pretend that wouldn't then affect the way you make your music. It kind of gives birth to a kind of self-consciousness about the way that you're producing your music, where you're producing your music, how you're producing your music, what you're doing with your music. Because there's a way in which when you're creating your music, it's coming out as art. But the more successful it becomes, the more you may become formulaic with the way you're doing it. And when you're having to take into account the way certain people will interpret what you're saying, it again changes and it becomes more self-conscious. So all of that, you know, all of that affected me, man. That's a big thing you're saying,
because I mean, that is like, that conversation's been rolling around in circles for generations, but now it's come back round. Even in our generation, you've had it with grime, where it's like, you know, when it, pow, and records like that banned in clubs, etc.
But also, let's not forget, when the Specials made Free Nelson Mandela, he was being called a terrorist by this government. If you walk to the Houses of Parliament today, there's a statue of Nelson Mandela. So in some cases, the bogeymen of yesteryear are the heroes and statesmen of today. And in some cases, the heroes and statesmen of today can be the bogeymen of tomorrow.
I hear that.
So the way people in positions of power perceive things will change.
So what do you say as a rapper, as someone who's part of the music community, an important voice? Like, if I was to just put it simply, and a lot of people just throw this term out there, music causes violence, that drill stuff causes violence, grime stuff causes violence. Like, what's your take on that conversation? Where do you
It would be an ahistorical take, because...
And what is that?
Well, what that means is that if you look at for instance, rates of violence in Glasgow, if you look at historically the times where people have had a larger level of inequality and a disparity between the richest and the poorest in society, social ills have increased. Now, those could be social ills, it could be levels of depression, it could be drug use, but it's also violence. And so what we're talking about is in the early 70s, you had the smallest disparity between the richest and the poorest at any point in British history. However, across the last 3 to 4 decades, you've seen that blasted wide open and it again stretched. And we're not pre-World War I levels of inequality in this society, but it has stretched back out. And so, of course, that will then take effect. What I fear is that often this kind of narrative is used to create a moral panic in order to pass laws which will be attributed disproportionately to certain sections of society, and certain people who are more likely to be victims of that crime than actual committers of that crime will then
Suffer,
basically that crime will be weaponized against them.
Yeah.
So whether it's you have the gang matrix database built up at the moment, or whether it's Prevent in schools and in public institutions, these are aimed at people that it's kind of almost like thought policing. And the point is that when the media campaigns are waged, they take people who have genuine grievances and who have real pain. And I believe that that's used in quite an exploitative way. And sometimes it at the end of the week, you'll see them come out and say, okay, well, we've now passed this new law, which allows us to do X, Y, and Z because of the moral panic. But that moral panic has been created by branches of media that are owned by billionaires. It's not organic. It's what they call astroturfing. It's when you make something appear grassroots when actually it's not.
It's fake grass.
Fake grass.
Oh man, you took a long break, bro. You took a very long break, but you did come back strong. Can't lie.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Lowkey, we're just chatting. I knew this was going to be a wicked convo. I knew it. But don't forget, the guy's got bars. Lifted off of soundtrack to the Struggle 2, which only came out a month ago. Lowkey.
Never talk my fire in the booth. I don't need a label, I'm saying to the truth. If you're relying hard with the mind of a moose, your circle can hurt you as tight as a noose. Bars, artillery, harsher than killer bees. I'm a marksman with beats, carving them into meat. Palm enemies, laugh at them in the street. Wanna spar the elite, hard for you to compete. Not a marketing dream, hearts in the Middle East. Starving to eat, martyr beyond belief. Where they martyr the meat, marching them into meat. With the arms of the beast, harvest them with the teeth. If you're unhappy when you come at me, never miss. Make you run, scatty dumb, scallywags are getting dissed. Trump rally with a gun carried in your fist. That's a punk patty and a chump chatty terrorist. Intellect, still the sickest on the internet. Didn't know that I'll cue you slow like a cigarette. Outline, you get outlined like a silhouette. Been a vet that didn't pair the illest and I'm still a threat. Personified, verse at a time, murk him. Heard all your rhymes, certain that I burn him. Merged in my prime, first to the fine curtains. It's German, you ride hurting cause I'm Jurgen. Murder the mic, Klinsman when I'm turning. Merciless fight, clansman when I'm verbing. Words that I write sting them when I'm bursting. Worst of my type, champion night nurse him. 016 did a sold out tour. Think you know my life, I don't know about yours. I was blackballed then cause I spoke about war. They want me closed down but I spoke out more. Now the silence is broken, virus is frozen. Come to wash it away like the tide of the ocean. My pride is evolving, size of a Trojan. Horse on course to divide your emotion. Go round to the pen, the sound of a vet. They rouse me, I'm killing them again. Again, the album is next. It's foul that you slept. My mouth is a weapon now again. How they forget, these cowards are vexed. Pound the alphabet again. You're out of your depth, bow to the best. Put the crown on my head now again. Sick, I'm prophylactic. Say you're old school, I'm so Jurassic. Flow galactic, gymnastic could hold a backflip. Keep you grounded like Jones at Gatwick. Behold a classic, your poker tactics are soulless and hopeless. You know the actors. My mode of practice is molten acid. Flow roams the globe, I control this axis. No foes in my lane, most of them are the range. How you cope with the pain, coking up in your vein. They molded your brain, culture killing the fame. They know my name, suppose it was gonna fade. Get the concept, monster, lost like Loch Ness. Silly flows, all my videos are a box set. Obsessed with the nonsense, tell me what's next. Another day I could run on stage like Offset. Oxford to Bangkok, jam pops off. Even Amsterdam flow can pop clogs. Stand on hot rock, still man's not hot. Got genius bars like a laptop shop. Look into the eyes of my son. See the moon shine and the rays of the sun. Showed you my thumb, that's the size of your lung. I love you in everything you strive to become. I'm like Godzilla, kids think they're sick but they're not ill. Hop in the mosh pit, I'm toxic, the plot thickens. Hot spit, I couldn't give a toss if you watch ticking top of the roster. Eat monsters for hot dinner, glitch in the matrix. Spit with the greatness, flipping the script, my existence is dangerous. Convincing the jaded, no stint with the majors. My fiscal still sick, no hits on the playlist. Miserable haters, thinking for ages how to incriminate or intimidate him. Inking my name is synced in the pages. Pimps of the game with my fingerprints faded. I wonder where the lyricism's gone. Ridiculous how these kids are getting on. I don't even listen to the lyrics when it's on. Delete the whole app in the middle of the song. Go round to the pen, the sound of a vet. They rouse me, I'm killing them again. The album is next. It's foul that you slept. My mouth is a weapon now again. How they forget, these cowards are vexed. Pound the alphabet again. You're out of your depth, bow to the best. Put the crown on my head now again. You're recording out.
return of Lowkey. Your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. You do get rap respect though.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man.
From
Hope
early,
so.
the collabs, you can pick up the phone to a Wretch and all those people and they'll be, yeah. In it though.
Boy, I mean, to be honest, I think that I've been very, very fortunate to collab with some real titans, some real legends.
All early doors as well, when everyone was like
definitely, man.
swinging for it on records and
Definitely. It was a different. It was a different kind of game then as well. Definitely.
But it's true what you said about the hunger and like kind of some of that like Deal Real, Tony and Vincent and all them.
Yeah, man. Big up them.
That spirit like of like just
spitting.
Because I guess what was beautiful about that time, like you said, just before 09 was weren't about money. Because there wasn't that much.
It wasn't.
There wasn't enough for you to know that.
It wasn't actually an industry.
Nah, it wasn't there was no real economy to MC culture
No.
apart from clubland bookings. Like, don't get me wrong, people are making careers in UK hip hop, and people have been
nothing compared to today.
Nothing.
Realistically, nothing.
I mean, did you see the rich list the other day?
But
I mean, when I say like, I look at that with pride. If I'm honest,
Yeah.
I think it's only right, and it's incredible that the people who are at the spine of the success and are being celebrated and benefiting from that. But it is incredible to see, considering the times when people were celebrating selling 10 CDs out of a bag.
Yeah, I mean, also think about George Best, and think about Pele, and think about George Weah. Okay,
go on.
Were these players necessarily worse? Well, I don't know. It's another conversation. But if you look at Messi and Ronaldo now, yeah, and you compare what they earn to what George Best, George Weah.
Yeah.
I mean, George Weah is kind of more recent, but like Pele, making, bruv, it's a different galaxy.
Yeah, it's silly.
It's a different galaxy.
Yeah.
So it's
no, but I hear what you're saying.
I
I mean, like, I'm a DJ at heart. I don't check how much an artist has earned before I love or hate. Do you get what I mean? And I think most music fans are. So I wouldn't say that like money's a measure. But one thing that is very important, and what I love about UK MC culture, is the competitive spirit. The fight.
Yeah.
Now I was trying to like get into like the beginnings of the whole chip thing.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of sprung up online one time when it just felt like Lowkey just swung a punch. Like, do you know what I mean? And then Chip had his little dig in the video of the I forgot what the tune is, but when he came back with Transition, that was like and you know what was interesting about that little kind of tussle there was like there was the UK hip hop beast and the new grime kid like. What was your take on what happened there?
No, realistically, it was exploitative from my side.
Yeah, so you can be real about that then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because and I think that I wouldn't do it again.
Okay.
I think that when you're doing that, you're dealing with a young person who you have to understand that wild success can also be traumatic.
Yeah. We talked about this a bit off air, yeah. And that was quite a deep thing that you said. So what I took from that is, as a young person, because that's the thing, you know what it is as well with MCs and stuff, yeah? Like I always think like you're kind of famous with some of the things with fame, but not all of them, especially at a certain time in UK music. Yeah. You didn't have the escapism of the big house in the... Yeah. You were still from ends, but everyone knew who you were. And with that comes a lot of strife sometimes. Like,
definitely.
So you're saying that, like, what I interpreted what you said to me earlier was like, the kind of like, I don't know, trauma that comes with everything that feels good about it can turn you into a certain type of person or approaching things in a certain way.
I wasn't necessarily speaking about myself though, when I was saying traumatic. So I was saying when you're older than someone, right, and you want a bigger audience and you feel frustration.
Is this specifically with the chip situation? Yeah. For you?
Frustration from feeling that you deserve more listeners than you have. Yeah. It can make you do things like that.
But wouldn't you say that was part of like that Deal Real, I'm the best?
Yeah, exactly.
Because most MCs deep down, I feel they respect it.
But no longer were the stakes on that level.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Nah, explain a bit.
Well, you're almost encouraging cyberbullying. If you actually think about it in real terms, what is it that you're doing? You might be, in your definition of events, proving that you're better than someone. But what does that actually mean? If you're then talking about how that affects a person's life, is what you're doing a responsible thing to do
Wow, that's a
in the
very
real
mature
world, not
take.
in the kind of music hype kind of world.
Yeah.
In the real human to human world, is that a responsible thing to do?
Yeah.
Should you do that at that time? And I think that unfortunately, the nature of this kind of bloodlust that it seems some people have, it causes people to gravitate and then check your.
So
the
where
rest
was
of
your
catalogue.
mind at the time, and what
It's
did
about
you
proving-
respond
it's about
to
proving
exactly?
myself.
Because that was it at the time. I could never.
It was something he said about Dot Rotten or something, and I just imposed myself on the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just went at him on a tune.
But then it was the kind of responses and the things that he was saying back to me,
Yeah.
and I kind of jumped on top of them. But it's silly, bruv.
Yeah.
It's silly, and it's a shame. It's a shame that.
Wow, you really see it like that? It's a shame.
It's
That's
a
mature.
shame-
I personally think that's mature, but
do
it's
I
like-
see it as it's a shame that it happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do I see it as it's a shame that it felt like at the time that it required that for the other things I was saying to be heard? Yeah. You know, and it's also a shame that, you know, listen, now it's actually a lucrative business. So if you engage in that type of energy, right, with your stuff, obviously there will be other consequences, but it will also potentially be quite lucrative. Like that year of your career, you may make more than all other years of your career, even if you have a song playlisted on Radio 1.
It's funny you say that because I did
Yeah.
look at some one of the big streaming services. I looked at some of the most played records and some of the MCs.
And then the beefs one.
And it's some of them, and I'm like, that's all mad.
What does that say? Is that, let me ask you a question.
That's
Tim.
mad.
Let me ask you a question. Is that reflective of human nature, or is that reflective of the way that we've been formed by the society we're in?
It's a bit of both, isn't it? I think it's a bit of both, and not in a positive way, really. Especially with an art form as beautiful as rap.
Do we
man,
seek
like,
to see other people humiliated naturally?
there's
Is that a
part of it,
natural?
isn't it? Yeah.
Is there a natural feeling of some type of satisfaction? Are we living vicariously through the humiliator, or are we even living vicariously through the humiliated? How are we interpreting that situation, and why is it we're drawn to that energy? Because it's negative,
And it brings eyes and ears, doesn't it? Like at mass.
precisely, but it's
mad.
negative. But it's negative.
Have you seen Chip or interacted since?
No,
What would happen? Not like
nothing.
on that tip, but like, is it like?
Not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me, man. Not for me. But I do feel what I did was wrong.
Yeah, that's grown. That's grown. It exists out there. So what has been?
But also the other thing about it is it tells a story about the internet, because the internet allows you to interact with people in passive and one-sided ways.
Yeah.
So you can build a relationship with Twin B without Twin B ever meeting you. Yeah.
And a perception.
All these
all of
other
that,
things,
yeah.
like, and then you can even affect Twin B's life without ever meeting Twin B. And it's not right, bro. It's not right, man. It dehumanizes people.
So what is your relationship with social media then, as an artist in 2019, as someone who's come from that
Necessary
school of,
evil. Necessary evil.
That's a really good. That's how. That's a good way to put it.
Controlled by billionaires.
Yeah.
Like, well, you know, we don't have to get into it, but controlled by people who are also subject to the mechanisms of political power of the day, and who also have an agenda to some extent.
Yeah, personally, I agree.
Yeah.
And necessary in what sense for you as Lowkey
To reach
the
people.
artist?
To reach people. So I'll give you an example, for instance. When I stopped making music, I had a Facebook page that had 180,000 people on it. That would literally mean at that stage, when you write hello on your homepage, 180,000 people would see it. Okay. When I came back online, it was about 150,000 people for some reason. But also, I'm not sure if you know how Facebook changed in terms of the fan pages. You're not reaching all of those people. It's not like, I'm not saying, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's just the way that the fan pages have changed.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you know that, but their policy changed around 2016 in that we're going to emphasize friend pages rather than fan pages. So you can have 150,000 people on there, but you're not reaching all of those people. So then when it comes time to promote the tours, 2016, it hadn't changed in that way. And so we sold out the whole, we did 3 nights at the garage overall. That's like 1,800 tickets.
That's a lot
in
of
London.
tickets.
And to be away for 8 years, for 5 years, before that, that's still an achievement on an independent level.
Yeah.
And then also we did the whole country. We did Manchester, Gorilla. We did everywhere. Then the next tour we did 2017. They changed the Facebook kind of setup.
Yeah.
And I didn't have Instagram, I didn't have Twitter. And so in terms of the amount of tickets overall that we sold, it was probably about 50 to 60% of what we'd sold, we'd sold before that. And so then this year, when I have got Instagram and I have got Twitter, we were able to sell closer to the level we sold in 2016, but still not quite the same amount. Just because in terms of human beings that you're actually reaching,
speaking to.
These are glorified mailing lists.
Yeah.
And if you're someone that's built it over 10 years, or if you're someone that's like me who's kind of deleted it and then come back, then you pay a price for these kind of things. So it's like it's an interesting process. It's an interesting process, man. It's a learning process, man.
Yeah.
But to go back to your original question, definitely, man. I don't think it was right.
Interesting. So when you see that culture like existing
The
now,
MTV bass thing, though, I think that was right.
go on.
It's another story. It's another story. But
God,
MTV
brief,
Base 2010, 2011, they did top 10 artists. And stuff like
Yeah, of course.
like, in terms of that kind of stuff, because that's a defensive position.
Yeah, and explain, because you not making the list or not being in the list or being in.
No,
it,
I was in in 2010. I was in 2011.
Yeah.
So I was joint 10
Yeah.
with Chip in 2010, and I was something like 6 or 7 in 2011.
Yeah.
But then in a situation where people are looking at it like, okay, your place is not justified.
Yeah.
And even if it's artists that I personally think are like some of, if not the best ever, that have ever breathed
And who are those
on a
names?
mic,
Who are those names? Yeah.
breathed on a mic in this country. Then if I'm in a position where I've got to prove myself to say, well, actually, I do deserve to be in this position, well, then that's a different kind of, you're dealing with different situations.
That's the art, isn't it?
That's
Isn't
the
that
art,
like
exactly.
the art? Yeah.
And you're not setting up a cyberbullying type of situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's dead wrong, bruv.
Yeah.
Dead
I think
wrong.
when you put it like that, I hear you.
For me,
Yeah.
to still feel like, is a person defined by their intentions or by their habits? You can have the best of intentions and be convinced that you have good intentions, but the actual consequence of your actions could be disastrous for another person.
Yeah.
So
Which is just mean,
it's mean,
isn't it? When you think about it, it's a bit, and that for me, if that's the angle and that's the pure angle, it's a bit weak, man.
Yeah.
Really.
It's mean spirited.
Yeah,
it's mean spirited, and like I say, it comes out of desperation, to be heard, and it comes out of frustration.
Which you must understand to a certain degree, being that hungry person. Because you said something very interesting earlier as well, like, the artist you were in your 20s isn't the artist you are now in your early 30s as well.
Yeah, man. Definitely. Of course.
And that's interesting because there are more, and they're so much more successful and overexposed. More artists in a successful place as British MCs than there have ever been.
Yeah.
So when you said that, it just made me think, well, maybe, it made me worried. It made me worried about some of the artists.
Well,
in a sense, because it's like, I hear you, man.
Yeah, and also,
it's a lot.
And also, you've got to think about, it's different. Every situation is different, and every relationship people have with their labels is different. But there are situations, and there are precedents of situations where labels have known they're dealing with somebody who's going through something in terms of mental health, and they'll still direct journalists to that person's house. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they know that if that person is then on the front page tomorrow doing something mad, then the sales will improve.
Yeah.
It's about people over profit. And when the logic of a system is we have to do what we can to perpetuate profit, we have to keep up the deification of billionaires, where is it the artist fits into that? Is the artist just a medium or conduit for the perpetuation of that system? Is the artist merely a vehicle to sell products? Or is the artist a human being?
Yeah.
Or is their humanity somewhat lost in that process?
The quest for, oh man.
Yeah.
It's a big but very real question.
Yeah, man.
Let's dip back into this album, Soundtrack to the Struggle. Lowkey. That's who I'm chatting to right now, man.
I'm
I'm the mic breaker, life changer, sight shaper, rhyme maker, fire flames, face a fight fakers with a lightsaber, show ripper, flow, spitter, tone dimmer, known sinner, phone ringer, poem, liver, cooker of his own dinner, trend setter, bench pressing, fence sitting, bed wet as 10 letters, sender, I'm the ender of a vendetta, track smasher, fact packer, cat napper, dapper, rapper, dasher, pack cameras with a knacker, catching backstabbers, off at troll, bars never slow, master the art, I'm marching them home, darker than cold, carving a hole, carcass guard in the part for the crows, smarter than most, target as far as an artist, you aren't gonna blow, marketable, far from it, bar for bar, Vietnam in the flow, napalm in the mood, calm and I'm cool, no awesome, no I'm stars in the mood, you're far so cool with your bars I'm on pool, bar for bar, you can't ever do if you're writing this crap, hiding your pad, this type of rap is priceless fat, my line of attack is Tyson without if you try with a tight and winding the back, killing with a sick flow, drilling with the info, bit of silly bitty bye bye, skipping from the intro, really wanna spit flow, pity you can meet why try, kids in his kinfolk, busy with a single, really living inside guys, milling with the impulse, hitting with a plimsoll, sinning if you criticize I, sick as I was, switching them off, skip like crisscross, hit to the rock, slip to the knot, kid to the rock, flip like a pissed off Wizard of Oz, there's radio, play me though, maybe bro, flames we throw, need more C4 to make me blow, I'm back with a GO80 flow. Banning this, we're coming back to batter it like Captain and passionate without a ticker. Man, it lives his manuscript, established shit, no glamour glitz. His manic man is chapping blissful victim to your eyes like 21 Savage did. Step right through, website you, hit him with left, right, set right smooth. Eat like pig with bedside blues, killing my city with headline views. Red sky soon, threat like doom, visioning left eye 10 times 2. Wet try use, test my tunes, next round left right dead white you. Tic tac toe, mix match flow, hit back quick snap, kick cat blokes, spit my quotes, rip that show, did that impact, live that bro. Come back king, tongue gatling, blow the flow like pump action. Runs my ting in a fun pack my scored soldier like his mom slapped him. Merciless merchant, murking the mic, worst of the whites with the words that I write. Heard all the herds when I hurl to heights, learn from liars immersed in the hype. Pop with the people do not believe you. Watch where these monsters want to lead you. Nonsense to feed you, rocks and needles, monsters clutching Dr. Evil. Your lackadaisical tax to tame your full raps and limbs to fall back. Back your basic, don't snap your frame for talk back to change all facts. Man are capable, tracks available, stats are paid in full dash. Perhaps the labels for rap your way to call platinum chain, you bought snatch. Sick as I was, switch them off, skip like crisscross, hit to the rock, slip to the knot, kid to the rock, flip like a pissed off Wizard of Oz. There's radio, play me though, maybe bro, flames we throw, need more C4 to make me blow. I'm back with a GO80 flow.
Lowkey, Goat Flow, and he's here. And we chatting. We talking. So like you're like a young OG then, really.
I don't know, bro. I mean, I'm really complimented that you call me young.
I mean, we talked about like no, but I think what was it you meant? Blueprint 1.
Yeah.
You're probably around the same age Jay-Z was when he made that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a cool way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Still.
I think no, but what you said has stuck with me in the sense of like being an MC in your 20s and even like your kind of perspective on the chip situation and the person making music now and the person making music then and still being young enough to kind of like, no, man.
Also, you're not conscious of how your music is then even being taken by kids in schools and the effect it's having on them.
Yeah.
In your 20s, you don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, there's people in their 40s
who don't see
fair.
it. Yeah.
Like above us and people even older than that who don't care. I think the difference is that the fact that you're mentioning it means that you cared. Is that fatherhood and stuff like that?
Partly, yeah, of course. Partly.
Okay.
Because then you're seeing this human life that you're having to sacrifice about 100 things a day to keep alive in the first year of its life. Yeah. And you think that you're gonna have a 4-year relationship with this being before its memory even starts. So imagine having a friend that for 4 years you've just spent sacrificing everything to try and keep them well and okay, and their memory doesn't even start till after 4 years. So they've just 4 years they don't remember. So it's amazing, man. And it also makes you appreciate other people's vulnerability. Yeah. Because your vulnerability is now embodied in another person. Yeah. In a way that it never was before that. Yeah. No matter how much you love another person in your life. Now you actually have not necessarily walking yet, but like a human embodiment of all of your fears
Yeah.
and anxieties.
Wow, that's a powerful way to put it.
And it makes you look at other people and their relationships with their kids in different ways. Because
Right.
you can hurt a person. Something happens to a person's child, it affects them in a way that even if it happened to them physically, it wouldn't. It's a different type of pain. It's a different type of pain. And so they're vulnerable in a way they've never been before.
Yeah, deep.
And that's actually one of these tunes that hopefully we're going to play today, Sunday morning.
Yeah, I'm playing that next.
It talks about that loss for people that have lost their children and are bereaved in that way and have had to find a way, because in a way the life that they live afterwards is an imitation of happiness. True happiness will never be possible again after they've lost their child. And so they live in that kind of Groundhog Day type of way. And so the song is basically depicting two people that have lost their children and then end up in a position of suffering from serious issues with their mental health and also suffering in terms of homelessness. And I think this is a real problem when we look at London. According to BBC figures, actually, it was 1 in 269 people are homeless in London. And that's quite considerable when you think about it. And if you talk to people in that position, what you often find is there's been a massively traumatic event that has happened to them that's been the catalyst for this whole entire situation that's placed them in this situation.
I mean, I couldn't have provided a better intro to the song. Here it is. This is Lowkey, Sunday morning.
Children see them, they point and laugh. When the children see them, they point and laugh. When the children see them, they point and laugh. But they don't know. When the children see them, they point and laugh. When the children see them, they point and laugh. When the children see them, they point and laugh. But they don't know. They don't know.
She lost her son on a Sunday, her memories are bloodstained. The paper showed his young face, who remembered his mum's name. She sleeps with the blanket he was wrapped in as a child. He's not dead, he's just napping for a while. She thinks backwards with a smile. On the clock, the hands stop, can't accept all the plans lost. Sunny Sundays dancing to Van Joss like I used to be such a bad boy, but I gave it up when I fell in love. Hold him close, breathe the smell of his skin, preserving every little thing. How can she ever begin to move on? Sunday mornings, getting the groove on. His little hands wave their newborn, grew strong through songs. She thinks he's coming in from school, made his favorite dinner too. Sitting talking to an empty chair in the living room. Roams the street calling out things that no one listened to. Tried to treat her, probably thought solution was medicinal. No, and I don't think they'll ever comprehend it. Schizophrenic or a broken heart that can't be mended. Now she's sitting talking to herself where the bench is. Relatives wonder when she's coming to her senses. In her mind, he grew, walked the passage to a man. They branded it as madness, never planned to understand. She can't quite touch him, she imagines that she can. Holding the fabric to her face, squeezing the blanket in her hand, saying every Sunday morning, ay, ay, ay. Every Sunday morning, ay, ay, ay. Every Sunday morning, ay, ay, ay. I dance with you.
I dance with you.
The day they came and took away his son was a Sunday, but he only woke up to the news on a Monday. More times he knows the situation ends one way, but he looks up searching for some hope in the sun rays. A year passed, 2 years passed, 3 years passed. Finds it hard to get over the shadow that the fear caused. 4 years passed, 5 years passed, 6, 7, 8 passed. Still lays a hand for him when they play cards. His bedroom as it was, doesn't dare to touch a thing. Harms himself to sleep with the songs the son would sing like ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Only darkness every day. Ain't no sunshine now he's gone. Only darkness every day. You might See him by the betting shop, asking for a spare pound. His shoes are getting tattered and he's losing all his hair now. Sees him in his dreams, but he doesn't know his whereabouts. Sees him in the mirror, cause there's nothing else he cares about. Sees him in the crowd, but the truth is he isn't there. Calls after him and chases, but every time he disappears, cars passing by and passengers just sit and stare, talking to himself in a cruel world that didn't care. Every Sunday morning, every Sunday morning, every Sunday morning, I dance with you. I dance with you. Every Sunday morning, every Sunday morning, every Sunday morning, I dance with you. I dance with you. I don't think I can do this on my own. I don't think I can do this on my own. I don't think I can do this on my own. 'Cause I need you. I need you. I don't think I can do this on my own. I don't think I can do this on my own. I don't think I can do this.
I hope when you're hearing this, you're thinking, I need this album in my life. You do, you know?
Need you.
Soundtrack to the struggle too.
Need you.
It's just one slice of it, man. Powerful song, Sunday morning, Lowkey, who is in the studio.
Yes.
Yeah, boy. It's been wicked to catch up because we just even mentioned other people that other artists and other MCs and stuff. Tor, you asked about.
Tour, bruv. Yeah, man.
One of the sickest female UK MCs that has ever
Full
lived,
stop.
mate.
Not even female. One of the sickest
Yeah.
MCs, full stop.
Real.
Not
Yeah.
even UK.
Yeah,
One of the
no,
sickest
you know.
MCs,
Yeah,
full
yeah,
stop.
she's incredible.
Yeah, she is, man. And she featured heavily on the Mongrel album
Yeah.
as well. Tune Hit from the Morning Sun. I think she's on this Alphabet Assassins remix that
Okay.
we're due to play.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she's incredible, man.
I
Big
do
up
want
to
to
her.
talk about the new school and
Yeah.
what you're rating in terms of who's come through and what they're doing, etc.
Yeah.
But are there the Tor thing made me think something? Are there other MCs that are around? Because even I'm looking at Purple on this remix coming up,
Yeah.
and he just came and exploded and went. And
Yeah.
are there other MCs from I would say your generation,
Yeah.
that you think, why are you not making? Where are you, man? What's going on? We need more music. Because people were screaming at you for ages before you came at this album.
But I mean, the thing is if the economy is not able to sustain itself,
Yeah.
then you can't necessarily blame people because they're pouring a lot of talent and a lot of thought and a lot of energy into something that's not necessarily paying off.
Yeah.
And after a certain amount of time, a person's going to take other steps
Yeah.
because they know how good what they're doing is, but the climate at the time
Yeah.
wasn't really welcoming to it.
That must be and I do sense
It's
this,
sad,
and
yeah.
I understand it. I sense it, and I do understand the frustration from some of the older, even the generation above us.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look at those because you mentioned about I thought the footballer analogy was brilliant because you do have Bests and Pele's who definitely weren't earning what Ronaldo's, but it doesn't mean that they're better footballers. So I
Exactly.
do look at some of the artists and I do think,
Yeah,
if only you were 10 years later,
100%.
you'd be a millionaire from your talent.
100%.
Do you sense that frustration from a generation of UK black music artists, MCs and other? Do you sense that?
I think, yeah, but I think at the same time, you have to be flexible and you have to be able to adapt to things and the
Yeah.
way they change. And there are people that have been able to do that. But I do think it is, it's hard, it's tough.
Yeah.
Definitely, man. Because don't get it twisted, people are also happy for the younger generation that are doing it and doing it in such a big way,
That's good to know.
beyond our wildest dreams.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it would be impossible for a person not to look at that situation
Yeah,
and
just
feel,
feel a little
I
bit,
kind of missed
man,
out.
yeah.
I kind of missed out. So.
Yeah, but I mean, and I say it to all the artists that I do come across and interact with from that generation, it definitely built the foundations in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Definitely built the foundation.
Even look at it this way, Busby's Babes,
Yeah,
that died in a plane crash.
yeah, from Man United.
Bruv, they were working class men.
Yeah, If
Like,
you're if you're a Man United fan like me, you would know about the Busby Babes. They're like a team that died in a plane crash to Munich,
Yeah.
innit, right? 1958.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, think about the equivalent of that happening today.
Yeah, my God.
What do you think the reaction would be
Wow,
on a
the
national
world
level?
would stop.
The
Yeah,
world
it's
would
true.
actually
It's
stop.
very true. It's very true. And who are some of these MCs though? Are there MCs that you think,
Well, I mean, thing is, I don't necessarily know what someone has up their sleeve,
Yeah.
so you can't necessarily say, "Oh, so and so's missed that opportunity," because they might have something up their sleeve that's going to push it in the next way.
But one thing that does frustrate me is that like a lot of that period of time of UK MC culture, even before me, because sometimes I've had wrestles with people from the UK hip hop scene that like moan about, even with One Extra sometimes, there's a tone of, they don't know, and they usually miss out this and that. And one thing about a certain period of time of UK black music, MC culture, all of that is it's really like sadly undocumented in a lot of places. Pre-YouTube, all of the services which you can type someone's name and all their catalogue comes up. So there's so many people that made great music and we just don't have the CDs or vinyl. That for me is the biggest tragedy of that period of time in music. There's not.
Well, people that live those epochs,
the
responsibility is theirs to document.
That's the real.
If you were there, if you've got photography from that time, if you've got some CDs lying around, if you've got some of those old copies of Hip Hop Connection or Undercover, or you were at some of those clashes that were taking place, or some of those battles or whatever, you need to actually bring that out and document.
The grime scene's done it sick, I think, in that sense. Where like
100%.
you can find those clashes, like a Storms can go and sample Bashy and Gets arguing on the beginning of a record. Do you get what I'm saying? So you can the lineage becomes more obvious. But I think with UK hip hop, sometimes it's like I've argued with people who are telling me about like breakdancing in Covent Garden, and I'm like, I hear you, but like I won't.
Exactly.
Do you get what I'm saying? I hear you, and I can see in your eyes.
If it wasn't recorded,
but
and if
like,
I wasn't there.
and it's like it's a shame.
And then did it ever actually exist?
Yeah.
Not trying to get too philosophical.
No, it's true. It's true.
But if the idea of recorded image and recorded sound changes the nature of human existence, so a person is able to exist beyond their physical limitations.
Yeah.
If someone just says to you that this happened and they saw it and there's no documentation of it, how real is its existence?
It's a bit like,
do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And of the new school, who are your faves and why?
I mean, that's a good question. To be honest, I'm not too.
Who's caught your ear? Because I guess when it's like that and you're passive, when someone's caught your attention, it's for a reason. So who?
I mean, JK is amazing.
I love JK.
There's so many amazing artists, but to be honest with you, I don't really even listen to hip hop that much these days.
Yeah. So what are you listening to?
I listen to a lot of Arabic music. I listen to a lot of old school, bruv. I'll be honest with you. As yet, flipping Keith Sweat.
As yet, as in last night, as you went
precisely.
Wow, you went
Keith Sweat. Flipping even Warren G.
Wow.
Bruv, that's what I'm more likely to actually listen to.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely cruising towards middle age.
I hear that. Like, cruising? Bruv. You're doing
Speeding.
40 plus, mate.
But like,
yet, you know.
But like, it's mad because to me, I feel like there was an innocence to music at that time.
Yeah.
That it's not just it's not just for nostalgic reasons. It's just in terms of simplicity, even of the production.
Yeah.
Like I find
and lyric as well, isn't it?
And lyrics,
like,
and kind of it's I don't want to say polluted, but it's far less corporate. Far less corporate. The song is not an explicit over advert for a product for $1 billion company. It's just not. Like, it's a bunch of guys singing about love. Yeah. And so and I respect that on a really deep level. It's not crude. It's not vulgar.
It's just got its truth there. That's just like
it's truth.
It's truth. I hate
Which was universal. Let's not forget that. It was universal. But what I was also going to say is in terms of the difference between, say, the UK rap stuff and the stuff now, is that, say, even if you look at, I don't know, The Lox, Styles P, and you look at this Gucci Gang song, bruv, if you compare views, both those people put out videos on the same day and you compare the views, think about the listenership. Think about what that's kind of saying about where society's moving.
I hear you. Can't even argue that on a personal tip.
But you can't necessarily resist it.
Yeah.
You've got to find a way to kind of assimilate.
Yeah. I knew this conversation could have gone on for hours on end. You know? We didn't even get into as much of the album as I wanted to be fair.
Man.
But if you haven't heard Soundtrack to the Struggle 2 or any other old school Lowkey mixtape or album, you do definitely need to take it in, man. 100%. Thank you so much for coming
Respect,
through,
bro.
bro.
Thank you for having me.
Proper
man. I
appreciate the
it.
conversation. If you've just joined this conversation, waste. BBC Sounds. Listen back when you can, or hop onto One Extra, man. I want to like end with a remix of the first song I played. Like, is that cool? Can we go there?
Yes, we can. You want me to introduce it?
Yeah, please.
Okay, just quickly. So this was Alphabet Assassins, the remix from the Mongrel album, which featured Wretch 32, Purple, Skinny Man, Mike Righteous, Tony D, who else? Kaiser, a load of rappers, man.
Styler.
Loads. The Styler, of course. Big up
man.
Styler. A lot of amazing MCs.
Thanks
Check it out.
enough for coming through. Man.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Listen, since this is the remix, we're gonna take it I'm as zealous as Zeppelin and Zapper in my zones. I zoom like Zorro, I zap these donkin' zebras. My zone's a zoo. Yuppies are yapping. I'm yawning, yearning for yesterday. Years when youngers played with yo-yos, not yet with yays. You xenophobic X-Men with the X-ray. X-out Eximus with the X-rated sex tapes. Waffling wackos are just waiting to work for wages. My words are weapons willing to wage war on you wimpy waste.
I say rich walks wherever rich wants and retrospective. Rich is wretched. Why stay retro? Why wouldn't we wanna win where wanna bees wanna be we, which wouldn't work?
I'm well aware you wanna be, so wanna weasel words away from weight. Weenies run away to fame while we all work and waste away. You waste men are weaklings, why war when we work with one another, we win.
Verbally violent and victims validate my visions. Vaporize and vanish various vigilant villains. Vividly victorious over a variety of vixens. Venomous viper vanquishes vampires with vengeance.
I was the underestimated underdog, underachiever. Now everything I utter's utterly unbelievable. I'm on the up and up, unimaginable uppercuts. I'm relenting, I undercut my own uncle for that uncle butt.
Hey, this thing's Tony's. Trigger tongue, toxic techniques. Trash talking, telling tenement testimonies. Tutus transmitting through your television. The tyrant taking titles through torture and terrorism.
Systematically stuck from the way that suppression sets in. Survival on the street, stand firm or get stepping. Second class citizenships will keep stressing. Surpassing grudges the direction the sun's setting. Quick to think we can't synchronize our shit, which makes it so simple to sink our ships. So I got you thinking, what is the significance? They've had a stronghold over your soul ever since.
Righteous revolution, ragamuffin, repping reality, really rebelling, recruiting ready regiments rapidly. Remorseless renegade rhythms and records ripping radio. These rapping rattlers really rally rating my ratio. Quantity with quality, qualified quantum physics. I question quarterly cracks and I quickly quadruple quizzes. A quarter get queasy and query with queer quotes. So these quirky quibblers get crippled like Quasimodo.
Pretty purple, you know the prince and the pauper. Pinch from the Pharisee and pass the prize to the poorer. Part-time poet, part-time peeler. I never appease my palate with a piece of pepperoni pizza. Pecking on the fruit is not permissible either. But I'm power pimping like a gospel preacher. I piss off with your Penelope pit stop and pass the party to my pals and the Pisani gym pops.
Obviously, I oversee oral orations A to Z, optimum option oratory, a one-off operative ABC.
New flow, never sticking to the norm, it's no late. Naturally gifted, half Nubian. Navigate the nation in the right way. Tattooed by the navel, disable flows cause I'm able. Named a queen like Liberty.
Me, mill major, monopolizing music. Move movements, many men and movements. Money maker, money maker. Mac Milli, maximize, make meals. Mac is a mercenary, microphone to murder many. My mission to make a million. My mind state is militant, magnificent mannerism. Man, I'm missing the minerals. Keep the Mickey talk to a minimal, make you miserable. You're minor, me, I'm major, making man to me, they make a mate. You're mythical, me, and made up missiles, fool in the masons. Merciless, master, fool, marking fools when I'm marching through. Market is my manner, but I might be in your margins.
I'm London like Lowkey. Listen, ladies love me, I'm lovely, loud, lean and legal. My language, it ain't a lecture, it lives land local. Leads you layman's fam, I'm lethal. Kaiser will kill a kid, tipping kerosene mixed with ketamine. Kiddo, I ain't kidding, repping Kensington up to Kettering. Kicking knowledge to Klinsman, my clan killed Kenny. Sticking it in the kittens of Kerry and Kelly.
Shearing drops are jabbing me, chucking just like Jam Dewey. Journalistic jealousies, got John jacking it in January.
I'm a rhyme asylum inmate, infamous individuals in the industry. You think you will as me, you insane. Iller instinct inside, I'll ignite it. Incisions with a nice bit, you can see your iris.
I'll happily hack hackers that happen to have a hack on me like cat, and I'm habitually hazardous. How it has to be. Hospitalized haters, Holland, Holloway or Hackney. Hate hagglers, have to hang on with a handkerchief.
Good God, guess you got to go ahead and grab it. Guzzle Guinness and generate grammar that's graphic. Grams of ganja, gibby guts to go graffiti, guard the gates of goons and gangsters giving God because I'm geeky.
It's frantic, flipping, fantastic, frank up in your face. What foolish fools are funny and around it fooling a mix. You'll have to feel my fist of fury as a forklift and face a facelift and face a frank on rhythm and bass.
Everything is evident. My essence is every element. Effortlessly edit your enterprise with eloquence. Elevate with the energy of Eminem. Every entity that's ever been an enemy, I'm ending.
Dangerous, deadly with the doodling device designed to define this dude's life. I'm destined to do dazzling deeds. Dig the dialect dramatic, definitely down to deliver dreams.
Dilly dally, deadly done with that. Directly done the dance. Discipline, a dippy dippy DJ. Diplomatically done the dead. Design the damage. Deliver triple directly done like the Dutch Davis. That's how we drop that.
Cruise champions, come chill, see courageous challenges, collapse crazy. Contract seas, contacts screaming, cash comes in casually, course up, cruising, chain center, cooling, cool it, AC, coolish, the cousin of currency, cool mate, Kool-Aid, cool
Battling battlers with a bag of batteries. Fannies, batters, blackers because they're baddie backers be. Bashful bully bashers get badded bashers to Brackenbury. Baffle backpackers with bars bad as a bag of I'm an anarchist and an angry academic activist. Axe and assassinate the alphabet in the ambulance. Aki, I'm Maggie and I'm actually anti-arrogant artist that asking American accents by accident.
Jeez.